There are a few things we need to know in regards to managing flows. Starting off with Flow Trigger Explorer. We could create multiple record triggered flows on the same object. Some of them are in after save context, and some of them are in before save context. And if we have multiple on the same object, we need to know which one is running first, because sometimes you need some process to run after another process. To control this order, you can do that in Flow Trigger Explorer. Let me show you that. If you go to the flows list view, you see this option, Flow Trigger Explorer here. You can click on that, and it's going to show you you're going to need to select the object first. I already selected the gift transaction object here. You can change it, and then you select on create or on update or on delete. So it's going to show you all of the flows that are running in fast field updates before save, or actions and related records that's after save, asynchronous and scheduled pass as well. And from here, you can control the order by clicking edit order, and then you can just move them around. After you move them around and you click update, it's going to tell you old trigger order, new trigger order, and show you where these two are coming from. But this is basically this is just a confirmation that this is the new order that we need. Another way to achieve this, which is not the best way, the Trigger Explorer is the best way to do that. But just to show you where this update is taking place. If you open the flow itself and you go to settings and then under show advanced, you see here the trigger order. So you can update this number, but the problem here is that when you look at this, you don't remember what numbers do the other flows have. And if you have many, then this might get confusing. That's why using the Flow Trigger Explorer is much better. Right. Moving on, we have versions for each flow. We are limited to 50 versions. If we reach 50, then we get to do one of two things. It's either delete the old versions or save it as a new flow. So in this flow, we can save it as a new version like this, or change the save as to new flow from here, or save as a new flow from here. Let's look at the versions from the list view. You can click the arrow next to any flow and then view details and versions. And this is where you get to see the existing versions, and you can delete an old version. If you reach version 50 and you attempt to save it as a new version, it's going to tell you that we can't save it as a new version. Not to worry, you just open a new tab. You keep this one open, you open a new tab, you delete an older version, and then you go back and save as a new version, and then it will let you save as a new version. Next, we have that list view, and we can do a few things on the list view. Let's go back to the list view. On the list view, we have, it's similar to any list view really. We have different views up here, so we can create a new list view like this. Similar to how you create this, allow who to see this list view, give it a name, and then specify which fields to show up on this list view. Some of the fields that are helpful are the trigger object. So if you need to know that, to see a column where it tells you that this is a record triggered flow on the account object, on the opportunity object, so this is a helpful field to add. Is using an older version is probably helpful as well. I like to look at the API name, because sometimes we change labels and the version as well. There is the label. We have the type of trigger. Is it a record a run before save? Is it an after save? Is it a schedule? So there are some fields that are helpful. We can view each flow detail, so you can click on the arrow next to this, and you can click edit details to change the name of the flow, the label. You can also, let's go back to here, click this, click view details, and when you click view details, we have the option to see the flow label here, the API name, the URL, and some other information like who last activated this and modified this, and some other information here like the versions. And the last most important thing here is the access. So let's look onto that on a screen flow. If we go here and we click that, we have the option to edit access. And this is where we can control which profile have access to this flow. So you can override this and you can specify the profiles that get to have access to this flow. You can do it from the flow itself as well, from the profile itself as well. If you go to profile and then you open any of the existing profiles, and then you're going to see this flow access, and you can edit this to select which flows this user gets to have access to. Okay, next up we have the failed flow interviews. If you run a flow and then that crashes for some reason, you're gonna receive an email, and that email has a link to click which opens the failed flow interview. You can also access this from Salesforce by going to failed flow interviews. You can search for failed flow interviews. It says paused and failed flow interviews, and here you have the option to see paused flow interviews and failed flow interviews, and this is nice because you can click any of those failed flow interviews, and it's going to open the flow, and it's going to show you the path that it took and where it failed. So it's good to see visually that it failed, where did it fail, and then the error here to the right side. So this is helpful. It's like an email, but more of a visual email. All right, let's continue. Now, the keyword deprecated is important, not just with flows, but with anything really. If you have a flow that you are no longer using, or nobody is using anymore in the org, it's a good idea, it's a good practice to relabel the flow to deprecated. Put the word deprecated at the beginning, or Z deprecated, just if it is sorted alphabetically, it gets thrown at the end of the list view. That way people know that this flow is no longer being used. And the idea around relabeling it to deprecated instead of deleting it, it's just to make sure that for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, there is no need to come back to it and to confirm that there is no other processes that failed because of deprecating this one, deactivating this flow. You keep it in deprecated status for a month or so, and then after that, after you confirm that there is no problem from deleting this altogether, you can go ahead and delete it. And this is a concept that's applicable to fields, to objects, to processes, to emails, to everything, not just to flows. The last thing is that we have the new automation app, and this is just a way for us to see flows from the app launcher instead of having to go to setup. And this is basically, you go to process automation settings, you click enable the automation lightning app and save. Now after saving this, does it show up here? So there is this automation app. And from here you can see, I think there is a couple of components as well that we can add, or they are already added out of the box. The errored flows are here, the recently viewed ones. If I go to the flows tab, I see the list of flows. If I open any of those flows, I get to see like open the latest version, open the flow itself. I assume this is going to open the activated version. And then the versions are in a related list here. I think it's nice, so it's up to you to use either of the two. That's everything in related to managing flows.